Hey, it's Puffalope again. Can you believe that? Oh my god. So I just uploaded back to back two very negative videos about the game, about Dead by Daylight, and I feel like I'm becoming this like ball of negativity when it comes to this game, and this is never what I meant my channel to be. It's just how I truly felt about the game, and I still feel that way. But to break that whole idea that I don't want this game to succeed, I want to make a video where I am offering possible solutions, possible ways to fix Dead by Daylight in a way that would bring back the spark for me. This is my subjective opinion. A lot of you may disagree with what I'm talking about. That's completely fine. Let me know in the comment section below which one of my solutions you agree with or disagree with, and let me know your solutions as well. To start out, this is something I've been talking about on my streams and even on videos sometimes. I feel like VHR should prioritize quality of life changes over new chapter releases. Now, I understand that BHVR is clearly going for cash. It feels like they know that Dead by Daylight has an expiry date and they're just trying to get as much money from the game as possible. They're not going for longevity, and it's very apparent. They keep pumping out new chapters without even thinking of the killers that they're releasing. They put out Budget Predator with pretty much no Mori and the laziest fucking backstory of all time. When instead, I feel like the whole community would be happier with a search bar for perk, more graphical settings, maybe an FOV slider, maybe speed up the whole process of opening Dead by Daylight. Because if you guys play this game, you know how long it takes to actually, get into the game. Maybe fix one of the 50,000 bugs that come with every chapter that you release. Maybe rework the twins. Those are all changes that would be much more welcome than Adriana and Talita and Renato. But hey, they're Brazilian, so that's cool. While we're on the topic, let's focus on quality of the chapters over quantity. Instead of releasing a chapter every 3 months, release a chapter and then try to improve upon the chapter. Or even better, don't release a chapter for 6 months and then drop a chapter that people want to play and as and against. How about that? That sounds cool. Instead of copying and pasting the most hated playstyle in the game 3 times over in I think less than a year, stop hunting down unintended fun mechanics that are only really applicable to veteran nerdy 5,000 hour players like Skybilly, when Hillbilly could just bump into something and fly over the map, fly above the map, and just do funny stuff, or locker saving that people still, for some reason back then, thought that was something that was really problematic. Those are fun mechanics that are in the game for veteran players to have fun with. Once you've played this game for 2,000-3,000 hours, you lose all interest in doing generators or even killing survivors most of the time. It's about, doing things that a new player can't do. But the more you close the gap between veteran players and newer players, the less incentive veteran players have to keep playing the game because there's nothing else to learn. Everyone can flashlight save now. Killers are immune to locker saving. Skybilly is not a thing. That's bad. Very bad. Add secondary objectives, even new game modes, where the main objective for the killer is to get multiple hooks to win, and survivors have to survive for a certain amount of time. That would disencourage the whole generator kicking and running playstyle because there is no generator. Your whole objective is to chase survivors down, hook them, and hook them multiple times to win the game as the killer. And survivors are encouraged to go for flashlight saves, sabo hook, loop the killer. Also, encourage chasing in the main game in the form of simple changes like bring back old eruption but make it so it only works if you hit the same survivor twice. So you can't just hit a survivor, run away, and then they can't heal because the upcoming changes, and then you come back, down them, and you get value from the perks. There should be more perks in the game that only work if you hit the same survivor twice. And I know that can be very problematic, that's why I'm not suggesting this very seriously, but this is the first thing that comes to mind. Something that encourages the killer to hit the same survivor twice. Now, what happens if they're already injured? I know. We can find a way to fix that, I'm sure. And I know for a fact that BHVR has a way. They've been updating this game for, almost 9 years now. So they probably understand how to make killers want to chase. And I know that a lot of killer players rightly point out that they can't really commit to chases because the game ends if they commit to a chase for longer than a minute or two. That's fair. But the only way you're going to improve and make it so those chases don't last more than a minute or two is by chasing. You learn how to chase and you down them faster next time. This is not even a BHVR problem, it's a DVD player problem. People just want to win way too bad and they want to win over improving because really there is no reason to improve, especially as killer. You have so many different ways to win the game. Why would you want to get good at the game? You don't have to. There is no reward for being good at the game. So people just keep playing boring and yeah. That's the way it is. Adding cooldown to slow down perks is the only way to stop 3-genning. Number nerfs don't do anything in that case. Sure, those perks are going to be way worse if you're not 3-genning, but if you are 3-genning, they're just as effective. The problem with the perks is that you can kick a generator, run away, survivor goes there, repairs, and then you come back and kick it again. There's no way the survivor can out repair the perk slowdown if you're being especially annoying and if you're running a killer like artist, skull merchants, and knight. And while we're talking about those abominations of nature, make it way less likely to face the same killer back to back instead of the same map. I understand that if you're playing pig, you don't want to play cowshed back to back. That's very problematic. But I think the whole system would be just better if instead of maps, you couldn't play against the same killer twice. That would make it so even if you're playing against a bully squad as pig and cowshed, you wouldn't be able to play against them back to back because, you know, they couldn't go against the same killer back to back. And with how many killers are in the game, I'm sure there is a way to do that, to implement that system, though killer queues would be longer. Add a surrender button for both killers and survivors after a certain time period has passed. I think everyone agrees that if you're playing against a knight or a skull merchants and the game's going on for 30 minutes, all you want to do is just go next. It comes to a point where you don't care whether you escape or not. The same way that killers don't want to play again for flashlight jimmies, never going for generators and just flashlight saving you. That is annoying. Best way to fix that is when it comes to a point where you don't care about the game anymore, you should just be able to leave. Another change that would be very good for survivors is if someone rage quits the game, they get the DC penalty, but then the people that DC after the first guy don't. So he should get punished, but the other survivors shouldn't. Controversial, but I think a ranked game mode would go a long way in a game like Dead by Daylight. As Noob3 said, there is no casual DBD anymore. Everyone's playing for the win. So at that point, if everyone's going for the win, you might as well give them points. Yes, this would split up the player base, and DBD doesn't even really have that big of a player base to begin with, but I am sure it will be healthy in the long run. This is going to help with things like people having weird ass takes about the game, because I don't know if you guys ever played League of Legends, but if someone comes in and yaps about the game, yaps about a certain champion, everyone just goes, what's your elo? What's your rank? And then if the yapper is like gold 4, no one gives a fuck what the fuck he's saying about the champions he's going against, because he clearly needs to improve at the game before yapping about the game. And the problem with DBD is that everyone thinks they're good at the game. Everyone thinks they're super good at the game when they're not. You are bad. So your opinions about the game most likely are only there because you don't really know how bad you are. If people focused on improving and getting, you know, more wins and in understanding the game because of a ranked game mode, if there was a way for the game to tell you how terrible you are at the game, maybe you wouldn't be yapping so much. And I'm not talking about you, okay, buddy? I'm talking about you. Yeah? You. You got to improve before commenting on my videos, bro. This is a concept that I heard from Scott Jund, and I think he heard it from someone else. This is a video I watched almost a year ago, I think. But it's the concept of having different value palettes, like having heavy, normal, and light palettes. Like the weak palettes, let's say car palettes, or those palettes that barely have anything to loop around, would be the heavy palettes, that if the killer gets stunned by them, they get stunned for longer. And then normal value palettes, like the ones that have like this long structure, and then there's a pallet, and then there's a short structure on the other side, those would be normal pallets, and they would stun for a little less than the heavy pallet. And then the god pallets, such as the shack pallets and the pallets that you know, really there's no realistic way to mind game or play around, would be light pallets, and those pallets would stun the killer for almost nothing because they're already good as they are. Also, heavy pallets would take longer to kick, and light pallets would be faster to kick. This makes a lot of sense, and I don't know why they never listen to this, because the whole problem that killers have is that survivors have way too many resources, and I do agree, especially if you're playing a lower tier killer. So having different value pallets would make it so survivors are more inclined to go play the pallets that the killers can actually, mind game and play around, because those stun for longer. And then they don't want to go for the god pallets because the god pallets barely give them any This would not break the balance of the game. It is a super fun idea to implement. It adds another level of skill ceiling to the game. And yeah, this is my favorite suggestion out of all the things that I talked about here. And something else that I think a lot of people want, and I don't know why it's not implemented yet, just give the killers a notification if they're going against the Swift, so they know to bring, sweatier builds or play sweatier. Because most of the time, you don't even know if you're going against a Swift, and if you're true talent, you just assume that everyone's playing in a Swift, and then you play the sweatiest possible way, and you encourage your 2,000 viewers to play as boring as you're playing, and then you justify it by saying that they're a Swift when they're not a Swift 99% of the time. But yeah, those are my suggestions. I'm sure there's a lot of other things I can come up with if I think about it, long enough. But I haven't played this game in like almost 2 weeks, and I'm so happy and relieved. I don't want to keep thinking about it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of these changes. Bye bye.
Woof.